Welcome to Facilitation Skills for Sprint Retrospective. Imagine you've just joined the FinPay mobile team as their Scrum Master. The last sprint missed its goal, 12 production bugs reached customers, and frustration is growing across the team. During this course, you'll facilitate the team's retrospective, step by step, learning practical techniques that transform difficult conversations into continuous improvement. This is not a theory course. You'll practice facilitating real situations that Scrum Masters face every sprint: silence, conflict, blame, and difficult conversations. As we coach the FinPay team, you'll experience the agile learning cycle: learn, practice, reflect, and improve. Every retrospective becomes another opportunity for both the team and the facilitator to grow. By the end of this course, you won't just know how to run a retrospective. You'll know how to facilitate one effectively. You'll learn to create psychological safety, encourage honest participation, manage conflict professionally, uncover root causes instead of symptoms, and help the team leave every retrospective with realistic improvement actions they actually complete. Before facilitating FinPay's retrospective, let's clarify its purpose. A sprint retrospective is not a complaint meeting, a status review, or an evaluation of individual performance. It is a team reflection workshop where everyone inspects how they work together and identifies better ways of working. The objective is simple: improve the system, not judge the people. As the FinPay retrospective begins, your first responsibility is helping the team reflect on what happened during the sprint. From those reflections, the team discovers lessons, agrees on practical improvements, and strengthens trust through honest conversations. A successful retrospective always delivers these 4 outcomes: reflection, learning, improvement, and team growth. When tensions rise, many facilitators feel they must solve every problem themselves. That's a common mistake. Your role isn't to judge, defend management, or force positivity. Your job is to create a safe environment, guide productive conversations, ask thoughtful questions, and help the team discover their own solutions. Great facilitators don't provide answers. They help teams find them. Every successful retrospective follows a clear flow. First, you set the stage and create psychological safety. Next, gather facts and observations from the sprint. Then guide the team to discover patterns and root causes. After that, agree on a few meaningful improvement actions. Finally, close the session with shared commitment. This simple structure keeps discussions focused and productive. A great retrospective begins long before the meeting starts. Before joining the FinPay team, you review sprint velocity, production bugs, unfinished work, incidents, and team feedback. You also understand the team's morale and stakeholder pressure before choosing the right retrospective format and preparing your collaboration board. Good preparation is already half of successful facilitation. You enter the retrospective room and immediately notice that everyone is unusually quiet. Developers avoid eye contact, QA says nothing, and the product owner sits with folded arms. This is a sign that psychological safety is low. Before discussing problems, you remind everyone that today's goal is learning, not blaming. Without safety, honest conversations simply cannot happen. The meeting begins, and everyone is waiting for you to speak. Your opening will determine the quality of the next 90 minutes. You welcome the team, explain that the purpose is improvement rather than blame, establish simple discussion rules, and encourage honest feedback. A strong opening creates trust, reduces defensiveness, and prepares the team for meaningful collaboration. With the meeting successfully opened, it's time to choose how the team will reflect. Since FinPay has experienced several stressful sprints, you decide to use the sailboat format instead of the usual start-stop-continue. The visual approach helps the team discuss goals, blockers, risks, and motivations more naturally. Remember, changing the format keeps retrospectives fresh and encourages deeper conversations. Instead of asking, "Does anyone have feedback?" you guide the discussion with purposeful questions. First, discover the biggest frustrations. Then ask what the team learned from those situations. Finally, dig deeper by exploring why the same problems keep happening. Great facilitators don't ask more questions. They ask better questions that lead the team toward meaningful insights. You ask, "What should we improve this sprint?" 5 seconds pass. Then 10. Nobody speaks. Rather than answering your own question, you remain calm. You invite everyone to spend 3 minutes writing their thoughts before sharing. Gradually, sticky notes begin appearing. Silence wasn't resistance. It was simply the team needing time and psychological safety to think. The first comment finally comes. QA delayed everything. Moments later, QA responds, "Development delivered too late." Blame has entered the room. Instead of deciding who's right, you redirect the discussion with one question: what in our current process allowed this situation to happen? The conversation immediately shifts from defending people to improving the system. A common mistake is saying, "Stop blaming each other." That only shuts people down. Instead, you respond, Let's understand which part of our process created this outcome. Notice the difference. The team no longer argues about individuals. They begin examining sprint planning, requirement changes, and handover practices. Great facilitators redirect blame into learning. The team agrees that communication was poor, but that's only a symptom. You continue asking why until the real issue appears. Requirements change several times because sprint commitments weren't clearly agreed during planning. The root cause isn't communication. It's an unclear planning process. Effective retrospectives solve the cause, not just the visible problem. Now the discussion turns into action. Someone suggests, let's improve communication. It sounds good, but nobody knows what it means. Together, the team rewrites it into a smart action. The product owner and dev lead will review requirement changes every day before 3 p.m. during the next sprint. Small, clear actions are far more valuable than ambitious promises. As improvements are discussed, emotions suddenly rise again. Two developers interrupt each other while the product owner becomes defensive. Rather than stopping the discussion, you slow the pace. You summarize each viewpoint, acknowledge the emotions, and guide everyone back to the shared goal. Conflict isn't the enemy. Unmanaged conflict is. After nearly an hour, you notice energy dropping. People become quieter, and discussions lose momentum. Instead of pushing through, you change the activity. The team votes on the most important improvement using dot voting and celebrates one success from the previous sprint. A small change in facilitation quickly restores engagement and keeps the meeting productive. As the retrospective ends, imagine if none of today's actions were followed up. Next sprint, the same complaints would return, trust would decline, and the meeting would become another routine ceremony. That's exactly how retrospectives fail. The biggest risks aren't the format or the tools. They're forgotten actions, weak facilitation, and a lack of psychological safety. Before leaving the meeting room, you quickly review your own performance. Did you prepare enough sprint data? Did everyone participate? Did the discussion uncover root causes? Are the action items assigned and being tracked? Great facilitators improve themselves after every retrospective, using the same inspect and adapt mindset they expect from their teams. 2 weeks later, another Scrum Master tells you, our retrospectives always become complaint meetings. You ask one simple question. What actions came out of the last retrospective? Silence follows. Complaints without ownership change nothing. A real retrospective transforms frustrations into learning, learning into action, and action into measurable improvement. Reflecting on the FinPay experience, you realize the biggest challenges weren't missing Scrum knowledge. The real barriers were lack of trust, weak facilitation, poor follow-up, and unmanaged discussions. These are the reasons retrospectives fail in many organizations. The facilitator, not the template, is the deciding factor for success. Now it's your turn. Imagine you're facilitating another team's retrospective. One scenario involves blame, another changing priorities, another complete silence, and another low engagement. Each situation requires different facilitation skills. This is where knowledge becomes experience, and experience builds confidence. As you prepare for your next retrospective, remember 2 simple lists. Encourage honesty, protect psychological safety, listen actively, and celebrate progress. At the same time, avoid blame, rushing discussions, forcing optimism, dominating conversations, or skipping follow-up. Small facilitator behaviors create a huge impact on team culture. Looking back at the FinPay team, the results are clear. Better facilitation improved delivery quality, strengthened trust, reduced recurring issues, increased ownership, and encouraged continuous learning. Retrospectives don't simply improve sprints. They gradually transform how a team collaborates and grows together. Every team is different, so every facilitator faces unique challenges. Perhaps you've struggled with silent teams, difficult stakeholders, or recurring conflicts. This is your opportunity to ask questions, share experiences, and learn from one another. Some of the best facilitation lessons come from real conversations. The theory is complete. Now we move into the workshop. You'll become the facilitator, working through realistic sprint retrospective scenarios based on challenges that Agile teams experience every day. Your objective isn't to remember the slides, it's to apply the techniques naturally under real facilitation conditions. From this point forward, everyone participates. Some of you will facilitate. Others will play developers, product owners, QA engineers, or observers. By actively practicing discussions, conflict management, root cause analysis, and improvement planning, you'll learn far more than simply watching someone else facilitate. Welcome back to the FinPay mobile team. Here's the situation. The sprint goal was missed. 12 production bugs escaped to production. 30% of work rolled into the next sprint. Morale is low, and everyone blames someone else. You are now the Scrum Master. How will you facilitate a retrospective that turns this team around? You're about to begin the retrospective. The team enters the room carrying frustration from the last sprint. Before discussing problems, your first responsibility is creating a safe atmosphere. Clearly explain that today's objective is learning, not blaming. Set simple discussion rules and encourage everyone to speak honestly. A strong opening determines the quality of everything that follows. The discussion quickly becomes tense. A developer says requirements keep changing. The product owner replies, the estimates were wrong. Instead of deciding who's right, acknowledge both perspectives. Then redirect the conversation by asking, at what point did the requirement changes affect our sprint commitment? Neutral questions transform conflict into collaborative problem solving. After the conflict settles, the room becomes completely silent. Rather than filling the silence yourself, give the team 3 minutes to write their thoughts. Invite each person to share in turn, or collect anonymous feedback first. Silence isn't failure. It often means people are thinking or need a safer way to express their ideas. As the discussion continues, another pattern emerges. The team has worked overtime for 3 consecutive sprints. Quality is declining, and motivation is fading. Instead of asking who caused the burnout, explore workload, sprint planning, and changing priorities. By acknowledging the team's effort first, you create space for honest conversations about sustainable improvement. Now it's time to transform discussion into action. Replace vague statements like improve communication with smart actions that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, the dev lead and product owner will review requirement changes every afternoon before 3 p.m. Clear actions create real improvement. Imagine you're observing another Scrum Master facilitating this retrospective. Did they establish psychological safety? Handle conflict calmly? Explore root causes instead of symptoms? Encourage balanced participation? Define clear actions? This checklist isn't about judging facilitators. It's about helping them continuously improve their facilitation skills. Compare 2 teams. One discusses problems openly, uses data, owns improvements, and welcomes healthy disagreement. The other rushes to actions, avoids difficult topics, forces positivity, and ignores emotions. The difference isn't experience or intelligence. It's the quality of facilitation and the team's willingness to learn together. Now it's your turn to facilitate. Spend 15 minutes preparing, 20 minutes running a realistic retrospective, and 10 minutes receiving feedback. One person acts as the facilitator, while others become team members facing real sprint challenges. This is where facilitation skills become practical habits through repeated experience. Before finishing the workshop, reflect on your own facilitation. Did you remain neutral? Did you encourage honest discussion? Did you help the team create meaningful actions? Choose one facilitation technique you'll apply in your very next sprint retrospective, because improvement starts with your own practice. Let's return to the FinPay team. They didn't become a better team because they adopted another retrospective template. They improved because they learned to trust one another, discuss difficult issues openly, and commit to meaningful change. That's the true purpose of facilitation. Great retrospectives don't just improve sprints, they help great teams grow. Thank you, and see you in the next course.